Hi, we're going to go over three things: how to sync different contacts with different iPhones through your cable. We're going to talk a little bit about Mobileme and how Mobileme is going to sync all of your contacts, but you can separate your contacts into groups so that on those different iPhones you can load those specific groups. But if you use Mobileme, you're gonna sync all of your contacts. If you sync through the cable, you can specify which ones to sync. So we're going to go over that first, and how you sync. Obviously your iPhone is through iTunes. So I have my iPhone plugged into my computer. I'm going to open up iTunes. I have it right here, and so my phone shows up in the left corner. I've named my phone Our Phone here. And then you see that I have several tabs along the top: summary, info, apps, ringtones, music, movies, TV shows, podcasts, books, and photos. Where your contacts and what contacts are synced is located in info. So jump to info here, and right at the top it says sync address book contacts. So if you have this checked, you can tell it to sync all contacts, or you can say selected groups. Now these groups correlate with address book. So I'm going to open up address book and see. So I have my address book open here, and I have several groups. These groups correlate with what's inside of iTunes. So if you have multiple iPhones, you can plug in your iPhone and tell it you only want to sync a specific group. And then you can plug in another iPhone and you can come in here and select a group and just select a specific one-time group. And then those groups show up on your iPhone, and I'll show you where those are on your iPhone here. So I have my iPhone 4. I'm going to open up my Contacts app. That's Contacts. And see, there's groups in the top corner right here. So when I click groups, I get all contacts, or all my iPhone, and then all the different groups that are specified on the computer. So I can go through those just like I can go through those in address book on my computer. So there's something that's specific to Mobileme. If you have Mobileme syncing on your computer, it's going to sync all of your groups automatically. But when you're on your iPhone and you're in contacts, you'll see for groups, you can select all contacts, or you can go through your specific groups. Now there is a section for Mobileme, and you see all the groups are listed, but you can tell it you only want to view certain categories of those groups. So if on those different phones you want to sync them with Mobileme, as long as you're organizing your contacts in address book on the computer into groups, you're going to be able to quickly look through all of your contacts and select the ones that you want to show up for specific groups. So that's the way that if you're going to use Mobileme to sync your contacts, you want to separate them into groups, and then you can just view those groups and just use those groups on the iPhone. All the contacts are going to be there, but the groups are going to help you separate it. So that's how groups work, and that's how you can sync different groups on the iPhone. The next thing we're going to go over here is we're going to create some context, some information around syncing calendars, and how Mobileme works right now, and an alternative using Google. So right now Apple uses their Mobileme service to sync calendars. It's not a sharing service where you can share your calendar with someone else and then they have read-write access. They can edit things. Right now it's a sync between multiple devices, so it's one person, one account. Or on your account you can push things out there, so you can publish a calendar and other people can view it. You would have to buy an additional Mobileme, or you'd have to share your personal Mobileme account, so your calendars, and basically add your personal calendars to another person's computer if you wanted to both have read-write access. So that is an option. You can kind of get a share calendar Mobileme service and do that. Although that kind of bleeds into Mobileme is getting canceled, and it's a good thing. They're actually going to give away this syncing feature for free. So Mobileme is going to go away. They're just going to sync your calendars with whatever you have as an Apple ID. And an Apple ID is any email address you've registered to purchase songs through iTunes with. And going forward, as they update the operating system, they're going to make this just a free sync. So when you open up iCal and you give them your Apple ID, any calendars you load onto iCal are just going to sync to other devices that you can load your Apple ID on. It's still not going to kind of be the system where you can read and write and share different things. You can invite people to calendar entries, but it's still going to be the person who organized it is going to have the ability to edit it. Now, there also is the feature where you can add a Google account to iCal, and then you can create a Google account for free and share that amongst a colleague or amongst different people if you want them to have read-write access. Google actually allows you to do this. The Mobileme system doesn't allow you to do that, but Google does. So I'm going to get in there really quick and show you how easy that can be. So I'm going to open up iCal here. Mine looks a little bit different because I'm using a program called BusyCal, but it operates the same way. Actually, you know what? I'm going to jump over to iCal so it looks identical. So iCal is going to load up here. I have my Mobileme account. I have a couple other accounts that we can ignore for now. I'm actually going to add my Google account here on the spot. So I'm going to go into iCal and Preferences, Accounts. I can hit the plus button down here. Now it says Account Type Automatic. You can actually select that you want a Google account. I'm going to add my main Google account here. And see, now I have a new title here over on the left, and it's starting to sync with Google, and it's going to pull up the calendars that I don't use Google too often to sync my calendars, but it's going to pull up the calendar entries for the grouping I have there for what I called life. So now this is pretty cool because it's syncing with iCal, and now I can go to the online interface and I can share this calendar with someone else who has a Google Calendar and specify that they can edit the events. So I'm going to show you that step now. I'm going to open up a web browser here and go to my Google email address is probably the easiest way to get to it, and then load the calendar. So I have my Google Calendar here set up. And I have my calendar's title here, and you can see I have a few different ones, but it syncs my life calendar here on iCal. So see, there's the same thing here. Alright, so all these other calendars are just extras that I don't have set up to sync or to share anywhere. So my life calendar here, I can go into here and I can go to share this calendar. And see, I've already shared it with other address of mine. But you can specify that they make changes and manage sharing, or make changes to events, or see all event details. So if you add an email address in here of a colleague who has a Google account, you can then share this calendar with them, and they can either go in and edit the events on the web interface of Google, or just like we added the calendar to iCal, they can go ahead and do that, and they can edit the events right in iCal, and then they're going to sync back and forth. So if I edit an event here, it's going to sync on their calendar, and then they can change the details, and we can go back and forth. It's a little different than how traditional calendar events would work, where you would send an invitation to someone, and then it would appear on their calendar separately, and they could either accept or decline, and you would still have control of that event. So it's a little bit different, but I know a lot of people out there want to be able to give complete control, so you can do that with the Google platform. So that kind of builds a little context around this, what Apple is going to do and the direction they're moving into, and then some of the capabilities that Google has. So we have another item to cover here. Discuss Mobileme over-the-air syncing, and that Mobileme is going away. We kind of already covered that. Mobileme is changing or morphing into what Apple is going to call iCloud. And what's cool is it's going to be free, and it's going to be tied to your Apple ID like I mentioned. So if you've ever bought anything with iTunes, you already have an Apple ID, you're registered with Apple. you'll be able to, just like we added this Google account into iCal, you'll be able to add accounts with your Apple ID, and that will span a lot of different things. So that will span contact syncing. It'll span an email address that they'll give you, an iCloud email address that will be connected to your other contacts. It will be used with Calendar and probably a lot of other different sync services that they're going to roll out. Their whole idea here is just that when you make a change anywhere, it kind of filters to all your different devices. So that fits in with the other operating systems that they have going on for their iTunes. So if you buy an app or you buy a song and it's tied to that Apple ID, and you have other devices that are tied to that Apple ID you've hooked up, it'll appear on your iPhone, your iPad, your computer, and it'll just filter. So they want that to also happen with email. So when you get an email or delete an email or reply to an email, that reply will show up in the sent box, or it'll move around on all those devices, and same thing with calendars and all that. So it's kind of cool where they're going, and they're making it free, which is cool. But if you want the specific feature of calendar read-write access, giving read-write access to everyone, you either need to share one account under the Apple system, or you want to use a Google account, and then in the sharing preferences, like I showed you, you can switch over and have people completely make changes and manage everything about that calendar. So that was going over syncing, kind of where Apple's going to go, syncing contacts and how to organize those on the iPhone separately, and also how to get into calendar sharing and hopefully be able to solve some of the problems that you're coming across. Thanks.